Masonic Lite podcast. This is Past Master Moyer calling with my critique review of episode 112 entitled CPO Corey McClare. This was a very, very good episode. Really enjoyed listening to Corey. Appreciate his service on the, I wrote it down here, the U.S. Comfort in the New York Harbor during the initial COVID. I don't want to say COVID scare, but when it was really, initially we didn't really know how to handle this and everybody was panicking. So appreciate his service, and I hope you enjoy your next duty station in Italy. That would really be a tough one to endure. Maris, you were the interviewer for Corey. I can understand that since you served in the United States Navy. You did a great job, Larry. I really hate to say that. But the one thing I noticed, you're using the word amazing again in every sentence, so knock it off. Oh, and I forgot to mention, in the initial, or in the beginning of the episode, when everybody spoke about what they were doing, Corey mentioned he enjoys the witty banter of the podcast. I thought that was quite a statement. I'll have to remember that. The podcast is known for witty banter. Dutchy Doug from Broken Plow Lodge number 377. I enjoyed your story of the January stated meeting in 1954 for your annual pork and sauerkraut dinner. That was a hilarious story. Brother Cronkite, enjoyed your news on the redundant lodge number 111. Really, really love that name. And finally, Tim, I congratulate your lodge on being able to conduct 8 stated meetings in 2020. That's quite an accomplishment considering all the roadblocks thrown before us last year. Anyway, looking forward to episode 113. I'll be in touch. Bye.
From the new recording lair located deep beneath the Wine and Spirit store in Ephrata, Pennsylvania.
You're listening to the Masonic Lite podcast.
Studio 665 presents Masonic Lite podcast. This show is recorded by Masons, for Masons. It is for entertainment purposes only. And please, no wagering.
This podcast is not endorsed by any Grand Lodge, and the ridiculous ramblings of the hosts are their own. And now, here's your host.
Hey, and welcome, everybody. We're episode 114.
114? Oh, my.
Of Masonic Lite podcast. And Tim, who brings our podcast to everybody?
So our show is brought to us by our patrons on Patreon, patreon.com/Masonic Lite podcast. And for as little as $1 a month, $1, just $1, you can keep the great content that we bring to you on Masonic Lite podcast coming. We also have different levels. We have I think we call them by degrees. So we have the entered apprentice, the fellow craft, and the master masons level.
Very clever of us,
that, right?
We need to come up with like a super Illuminati.
Illuminati, there you go. Yeah, that would be like $22.15.
Yeah.
If we can figure out how to log on to the new version of Zencastr, one of the ideas we had was because the new Zencastr, we can record video. And what we're thinking about doing is if we happen to score a good guest, just one or two of us will log on and talk to that guest with video. And then we can share that video with our patrons. So right. To give you a little something that, for your money back.
Great.
That's the idea.
But that means we have to get dressed to do this, right?
Damn it.
Darn it.
Well, I put on a clean shirt, so I should be good for 3 or 4 days.
But seriously, we really appreciate our patrons for supporting this, and we appreciate you listening.
All right. So what's everybody been up to? I'll look on my screen. So Tim, you're on top left. What have you been up to Masonically?
Well, we have been doing a lot of rehearsals at Eureka West Shore Lodge in preparation for degree work. Things are getting back in the swing. And as a lodge secretary, I've been homebound doing audit stuff, not only for my own lodge, but in my new role as a RIT, helping secretaries across the area. Audits are like driving people nuts this year. So, and you wouldn't think it would be because nobody did anything last year, but the normal processes, I think, got interrupted, and we've a lot of folks have got them in. If you're in Pennsylvania, your district deputy, I'm sure, is harassing you for them, and so that's really the big stuff I've been involved with since our last episode.
And I guess I'm next on my screen. I've been up to nothing. Today, I just wrote out a bunch of checks to travel to a bunch of different Masonic things. So that's it. Jack?
I've done very little. We are setting up this Beersheba Grotto in Honeybrook, and there's been some check writing and things to that. I'm the treasurer of that group as it's getting together. But other than that,
Josh, what's going on with you in Lamberton?
Not too much. We're still virtual at this point. But I'm 99% sure our audit is complete and going in. So as far as that goes, we're done with that.
Good.
And other than that, we're just playing virtual. So
you got a new lodge room though, right?
Oh yeah. At the Masonic Center, they, I think I mentioned some of this last time. They put the carpet and stuff in, and they did the checkered floor and replaced the carpet all through the museum and all that. Looks real nice.
I saw a picture of that.
Nice.
It looks nice. Yeah.
It's great.
Have the signs gone up to say don't walk on the carpet?
Yeah, take your shoes off before walking on the carpet.
Larry, have you done anything?
Other than keep in touch with some of my brothers, about 5 or 6 of them, on a weekly basis. Other than that, no, but I will say, and I'll make an announcement. We published today, or not yesterday, in the Ghost and Gridiron officially will start meeting again, unofficially / officially, tomorrow, Thursday, which I will not be there. I'll be at a doctor's appointment. But from now on, Ghost and Gridiron will be meeting at this square mile. So we're going back. And we will practice safe distancing, wearing masks and all that stuff. So, and I think most of the old timers there, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of them already got their shot. So
good.
Alrighty. Well, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll hear from our special interview that's coming up where we're being interviewed.
Why choose George J. Grove & Sons for your next home improvement project? At George J. Grove & Sons, we've built our reputation on quality and trust for more than 50 years. From planning to materials to installation, George J. Grove promises a home improvement experience second to none. Whether your goal is reducing energy costs, decreasing maintenance, updating curb appeal, or simply increasing the value of your home, the George J. Grove team will recommend and provide solutions that stand the test of time. Call 717-393-0859 for an estimate or visit us at georgejgrove.com.
And we're back. tonight's episode is a special episode, although it's the overall content may be something that you've heard before here on the Masonic Lite podcast. But we were invited by the brethren from the 59th Masonic District in Pennsylvania. And Brother Jeff Borosky is the District Deputy Grand Master there. He asked us to come and lead an episode as part of their speaker series. They're doing virtual speaker series during this time of COVID. And so we got to be the guests at their gathering on Zoom. And we were also fortunate to be joined by the Right Worshipful Senior Grand Warden of the Free and Accepted Masons of Pennsylvania and Masonic jurisdictions there and to belonging. So it's a great conversation.
And his name was?
Oh, I'm sorry. Rob Brink.
Rob, yes.
Rob Brink.
Rob
Brink.
Rob.
I got the title right. Kind of tells you where the episode's going to go, right? All right. So let's go to our interview on Zoom.
It's good to see you guys all tonight again, and hopefully in the near future somewhere in person as we open up, especially in our district. Want to make a quick introduction. We have Rob Brink, the Right Worshipful Junior Grand Warden, on with us tonight.
Hello, everybody.
Good evening.
Brother Rob, it's always a pleasure to have you here.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So let's just jump right into things. I'm pleased to introduce our guest speakers tonight. There are a few of the brothers, if I think I can, you guys, all of you guys are here from the Masonic Lite podcast. We have Tim Dedman, Jack Harley, and Pete Ruggieri, Larry Maris, and Josh Leiter. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. These guys started this podcast back in 2016 after a meeting at the Masonic at Elizabethtown. I'm sorry. So they thought it would be a good idea to get a podcast going, and they did. They're still going 5 years later. They're going strong. They're doing well with this. I do enjoy listening to them. They're entertaining. I do learn something from their podcasts every time I listen to them. So without further ado, whichever one of you guys wants to take it away, by all means, I'll stop talking. And
I guess I'll start. This is Pete. As you said, thank you for having us. As you said, Larry and I were at the Academy of Masonic Knowledge, and this is when they had the guys from the Masonic Roundtable. They were the first ones to bring Freemasonry into the 20th century. They were all set up on the stage, and they were live streaming and all kinds of cool stuff. But we're watching them do this, and Larry and I just said, hey, we could do this. Maybe not as well, but we could do it. So we just sat down and started recording shows, and somehow people started paying attention to us. And I'm not sure why, but, we're 113 episodes later. We've had, Grandmaster of Pennsylvania, the Sovereign Grand Commander of the Scottish Rite Northern Masonic Jurisdiction, other Grand Line officers and authors from around the world. And it's been quite fun. Larry, are you?
Yeah, I'm here. I concur with everything Pete said.
Larry just kind of nods a lot when we're recording. He nods
and as we started getting more and more following, Jack was a guest, and then Jack never left. Jack just kept showing up, but Jack actually reads books. So Jack was a nice addition because he could have intelligent discussions on the esoteric side, whereas I'm more of the discussions on the, the friendly fun side. And we all kind of feed off of each other. And then we brought Tim on. Not sure why we brought Tim on.
I'm not even.
Allegedly to be our marketing director, but he's never done marketing.
He kept showing up like Jack.
That's what happens.
So I'll let you guys talk a little.
So how many of you guys have seen or listened to the show? Not seen, but listened to the show. Anybody know what one? All right, one. And then I think, Jeff, you said you did. So 2. All right. So 3. All right. Bob has. So a lot of people don't even know what a podcast is or how to get it. We are one of what are there 35 or 40 Masonic podcasts out there right now?
Yeah, there's more every day.
Yeah, we're like, we're the 3rd best, but that's just us. But so our show is a little bit different in that it's not really about us. It's about the guests that we have on. And yesterday, Larry sent us a message like, who's our guest for tomorrow? And we had to tell them that we were the guests for tomorrow. So we're your guests, and we appreciate your having us here. Any questions that you guys have about what it is that we do or why we do it? Anything? Bueller?
So why do you do it?
Pete, why do we do this?
I do a lot of traveling with some of the social bodies that I belong to. And, not just when you get outside of your lodge. I mean, obviously, when you're in your lodge, you kind of bitch and gripe about things that you wish were different. But then once we started getting, once I became a master of the lodge and I'm going to school of instruction, I'm meeting masters from other lodges. And then, the appendant bodies, I'm meeting people from all over the country. I'm realizing the same dysfunctional things that we encounter are being encountered all over the globe.
Yeah, it's a human condition.
And it's with trying to update records and trying to get people to send us email addresses and phone numbers. And while a lot of the discussions about Freemasonry, you can listen to Manly P. Hall, these old timers, Pike, and get all kinds of esoteric knowledge. But I think we kind of make it, when the new Mason joins and isn't sure what's going on, it kind of puts them at ease when they realize that this isn't a smooth running machine. All of Freemasonry is kind of, I don't know, it's a little clunky. But
I think ad hoc is the right word.
There you go. Yeah. But it's good for a reason. And some of the things that we dislike about it by being slow to change are also some of its strengths. Because if we were to adjust to every single fad, then we would be knocked out as well. But we're not doing it for the money because we don't make any money. It costs us money. We don't do it for the women because there's no women listening.
3%
of our listeners are women. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a total of 2 by head count, but yeah.
About once a month, we get some newer brother that will tell us that our show is the reason why they have continued. It's because hearing us made them feel, we're blessed here in South Central Pennsylvania. We're so close to so many activities, and the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania is so good. Scottish Rite Northern jurisdiction is good. But if you're a Mason, let's say out in Indiana, Oklahoma, and you're 75 miles, 100 miles from the next lodge, you're like wondering what Freemasonry is all about. You got your 3 degrees and you just don't feel like you're part of anything. So we've kind of made people all over the world feel like they're part of something and enjoy Freemasonry again.
One of the things that I would add to that is, and I've described this show as, imagine 4 or 5 of your friends sitting around a table and talking about some topic. And that's really what, if you think about the format of the show, that's really what it is. We'll have a guest or we'll have a topic, and then you've got 5 friends that are sitting around the table, and we really are friends. I mean, we come from very different backgrounds. We really didn't know each other necessarily well before we got involved in doing the podcast, but over time we've become very good friends. And, sometimes we disagree, sometimes we agree, but it's a good, healthy discussion that we have. And Pete mentioned the Masonic education that we've heard from a lot of folks. there is a newly raised Master Mason in my home lodge. He got his entered apprentice degree last March, the week before the big shutdown. There were actually 3 of them. And so they went basically the entire year with not much of anything. I mean, we did some stuff as a local lodge and so on, but they weren't able to progress in their degrees. And the one gentleman that just got his Master Mason's degree this past month said, "Your podcast has been the best Masonic education I've had in the last year." He said, "When I go out and walk," he goes, "I'm downloading one of the earlier episodes and listening to it." And he's gone through probably half of them at this point. But yeah, just a lot of interesting people. And I think that's the key, is it's the people that we meet and their take on, sometimes it's Freemasonry and sometimes it's just an interesting person. And we try to bring Masonic connections to it.
So guys, I didn't ask that question frivolously. In other words, the reason you guys do this is important to Freemasonry, in my opinion. It's to some extent the fellowship. Just so why do guys get together and do this? They do it because there's some value in it. There's something they're getting out of it. And so, you guys are helping to bring that to the membership and to everybody, really, anybody who wants to sign on for your podcast. And I think that's valuable to the fraternity.
And the whole fraternity, we've had a couple of episodes about how the corners that the fraternity is turning right now, and how important technology has been, and it's blown up over COVID for sure. But just being able to access, there is more Masonic education on the internet right now in a day than in the first 5 years of my joining the fraternity. I mean, I was starved for any kind of Masonic education. Yes, Larry.
I think he has to go to the bathroom.
No. What I wanted to say, and I'm going to pick up where Pete left off, because what Tim said is very important. What Jack is saying is very important. But when we put this show together almost 5 years ago, one of the things that we wanted to do after listening to other podcasts was make sure that our show was, number one, conversational. It wasn't directed. It wasn't reading out of books. It wasn't, I know more than you do. It had to be conversational. There had to be some humor in there. We're not a dry show, and anybody who's listened to our show knows we have a lot of fun. And we have a lot of different spots that we put in there to make it entertaining, as well as giving out knowledge of our craft. And that's what we wanted to go for. That was our number one goal. And I think we have vastly succeeded there in doing that. So I wanted to continue what Pete said. So go ahead, Jack, back to you.
Well, one of the things that we've talked about on the show, and we kind of, I think we came up with that if people are joining, there's one of 4 or 5 reasons why somebody joins a Masonic Lodge. Somebody, maybe it's because it's family, but maybe because they're into the history of it. Maybe they want to learn more about the esoteric mysteries. A lot of people, it's just a social, fraternal group, and they want to meet friends. And, Blue Lodge has a tough job, because Blue Lodge has to try to keep all those people satisfied. And, I know my Blue Lodge, sorry, Josh, because you're the current master of my Blue Lodge, but, especially in COVID, but it's hard for the lodges to keep it social, because we're not a social club. We're not the Elks. We don't have a bar. We don't have a place to go meet. So we really only see each other once or twice a month. And during that, we're doing work. So, I think Blue Lodge is missing some of that. Whereas then you get up into something like, in Grotto, we're way big on the social side, but we kind of leave everything else off in the gutter.
Including a couple of the members, I think.
So I just think this makes people feel connected who normally wouldn't feel connected. Because you could, I mean, I joke around about, I love picking on the Valley of Harrisburg. I felt like I was a member of the Valley of Harrisburg for 15, 20 years before anybody said hi to me. and I joined the Valley of Reading, and my goodness, it's like everybody was like super friendly to me. And like magically I got into one of the lines really quickly. And there's people like that maybe in their home lodge, they just don't find a connection with other brothers. It's not because they don't like Freemasonry. It's not because that lodge is mean to them, but they just haven't found what they were looking for. And I think we make an opportunity for people all over the world who may have a similar interest to keep them interested in Freemasonry and keep them coming back.
So guys, if I could backtrack a little bit, Pete made a really good point. Blue Lodge can be dry. Let's just say dry. Maybe that's a good word for it. But it doesn't have to be that way. One thing I've done for the 20-some years I've been a member at my lodge in a little town in Coopersburg, Pennsylvania, I've tried to get the guys to enjoy being at the lodge meeting. The lodge meeting should not be a funeral. It should be, a time when the guys get together and they enjoy each other's company. And you take care of some business. There's a little bit of dry stuff you have to do, but the lodge meeting should not feel like a funeral. It should feel like the kind of thing you want to actually put a jacket and tie on and go visit. Okay. So I think that's a really important thing that we, the guys on this call, need to try to push throughout the fraternity. There's no reason why a Blue Lodge has to seem like a funeral. It doesn't have to be that way.
That is very true.
I think our worshipful master, Josh, who's down the lower right-hand corner in my street, can testify that when we go to Blue Lodge, we do have fun and we learn and we conduct business. But I just like to have fun. Am I right, sir?
Oh yeah, we have fun in our lodge.
Exactly. We have a concept of due decorum, and okay, let's face it. We have to follow due decorum. There's a certain amount of respect we have to give, but there's no reason it does not have to be a solemn event. Do you think Ben Franklin was solemn in his lodge meetings? I doubt it. I don't think he was.
Or sober, yeah.
He probably had a good old time, and he had a beer in his hand.
That's right.
At the Historic Smithton Inn of Ephrata, Pennsylvania, we're pleased to serve the latest creations from Weathered Vineyard Winery, along with spirits from Thistlefinch Distillery in Lancaster, all to be experienced in the tasting room of a beautifully restored 18th century bed and breakfast. Cigars by D&S Cigar are available for your enjoyment in the courtyard. The Historic Smithton Inn is convenient to Lancaster County's most interesting attractions. Just minutes from the Ephrata Cloister and the Green Dragon Farmers Market. And a short drive can get you to charming Lidditz, thriving downtown Lancaster, as well as Hershey, Bird in Hand, and Intercourse. Or Valley Forge and Gettysburg. Whether you're looking for a romantic getaway or an active vacation full of sightseeing and attractions, the Historic Smithton Inn will be a welcoming oasis from everyday life, one that you'll want to visit again and again. Stop in and visit at 900 West Main Street in Ephrata, Pennsylvania, or check out our website at historicsmithtoninn.com, or simply call us at 717-733-6094. Just ask for Past Master Dave.
This electronic thing is not going to go away. I mean, nobody's real super fan of Zoom, but there's just so much. You could spend 2 or 3 hours a night on some different presentation that's happening, some Masonic education thing that's going on here. And, the guys in the podcast all know I'm kind of the Masonic education nerd. But I can't keep up with it all. I've given up trying to tune in and watch all these things. It's just overwhelming, and that's great. And like Pete said, everybody joins for a different reason. Everybody, even after they're in, is looking for something different, some different aspect of this thing. And we have to give them value. Bob, you have to make it worth their coming out. And it's tough for a master who by the 4th or 5th meeting is just starting to get his feet under him. And then we break for 2 months, and then we come back and have an election and then an installation, and he's done.
That's a vote for having masters for more than 1 year.
Yeah.
The downside to that is you deprive yourself of more past masters. That's a really tough problem.
That could be a problem.
That's a really tough problem. Ideally, you want a lot of past masters to support the current master, right?
That's
if you
true.
do your masters, you lose you have half as many past masters, and that's a problem too.
Right.
Yeah, I'll counter that with something like a lot of lodges. Your average member feels left out, almost as if you're not a past master, you don't count.
Or in the line. If you're in the line, you're in the group.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're just a regular member and you're not a past master and you're not in the line, it's almost like you're a member minus. And I think what we need to do is really try to make every member feel welcome and like they're part of the team. And if they're just the guy that pays their dues, and never shows up, they're still important. In fact, they're the ones that keep all of us going.
Well, I think that there is, I've not been a past master of my lodge. Or in South Carolina, where I came from, I was an officer in South Carolina, but I never did that up here in Pennsylvania. But I think that there are avenues of a member that can be extremely active in the lodge, even if he's not in the line or even if he's not a past master. And I think I'm one of those people. I serve on committees. I've chaired committees. I've done a lot for the lodge, and I look forward to doing it. And there are people in the lodge who don't necessarily want to go through the line who can and usually are and can be active. They show up at meetings. They show up at extracurricular events. They serve on committees. And there are ways to serve a lodge other than being in the line. And I'm a living example of that.
I agree with you, Larry. In my lodge, we have a brother who never intends to be a master. He's a young guy. He's in his 30s. And he sits as the senior master of ceremonies, and he likes that position. And he's also the president of our temple association. And so he contributes seriously to our lodge. Like, he's very valuable to the lodge. He's helping with our 150th anniversary celebration, and he's doing all kinds of things. He's just not in the line, and that's totally okay. Everybody appreciates what he's doing, and he doesn't have to be a line officer to achieve what he's trying to achieve.
Yeah,
but he has to participate in something, and he has to know how to participate in something. And a lot of guys, when they first join, they don't really know what they can do. What am I entitled to participate in? And unless somebody puts his hand on his shoulder and says, "Hey, I think you'd be great on the social committee," and here we're going to meet on Tuesday. Come join us and actively engage them. And it's that active engagement. We tell them that they should get engaged, but I don't think we really instruct them on how to do it well enough.
Yeah, we have to grab them by the hand and take them and show them, okay,
exactly.
Here's what I think you could be really good at. And I agree with you. That makes sense. And you know what? In my lodge, we've taken the grumpy past master to an extremely comedic level. Like, we enjoy the whole, that's not the way I used to do it thing. And I think it's been very productive for our lodge, for everybody to make a joke out of the fact that, back when I was master, that's not the way I did it. It's huge, and the guys love it, and it's just a really good comedy for the lodge.
Indeed. Ryan or Chuck, you all had something to add?
Well, I was going to say that, what do you feel about the generational gap? As I sit here with Ryan, who's my son-in-law, and an incoming craft mason that's going to get his degree in March, how do you find where Fred's sitting in as a 50-year member? I'm a past master with 7 or 8 years under my belt. And I've got Ryan, who's been in the wind waiting by for a full year, waiting to get his master mason's degree, and possibly coming along kicking and screaming and coming to some chicken barbecues because he's now family. Mm-hmm. But my son, who's just a couple years older than him, we almost never see. You guys made the comment about the technology. This is coming from a generation who puts their head down, and if it's not on their cell phone in front of them, this Zoom is their technology and it's what they do. So now you're talking about putting them in a room, stuffy, a Fred scenario 50 years ago, you would have never gotten 20-year-old and 30-year-old as interested in today's society as they may have been in the baby boomer era. So how's that generational gap going to play forward if we don't stick with the technology?
Well, we have to embrace those young guys. In my lodge, we have a master who's 35 years old. We have a junior warden who's in his 20s. And we have a lot of young guys that are really actually taking control and running this lodge. Now, what they have is a bunch of crusty old, grumpy past masters who are solid guys who really give they care, and they give these guys honest guidance. They don't get in their way. They just say, hey, guy, back when I did it, here's what I did. You decide what you want to do because you're the master. You make these decisions now for yourself. So we give them guidance, but we don't like force it down their throat. And we don't shun them for, that's not the way I used to do it kind of stuff. We encourage them. That's the important thing, I think. And I think that's something we have to get through in a whole bunch of lodges, is to encourage the younger guys and let them do the thing the way they want to do it.
Brian, what's your expectation joining this crazy thing? What do you think it is, and what do you think you're gonna draw from it and give to it?
Yeah, really, I didn't know much about the whole Freemasons until Chuck. But I kind of like the idea of being in like a brotherhood and being a part of something that was greater than just a few years old. Obviously, I'm really looking to get out of it. Obviously, friendship. I really enjoyed the lodge school nights. We BS with the guys prior to the actual rituals and all that. I like learning about the history. I just think it's fun doing something that's doing all the rituals that are really historic, and then having that time before and after to kind of BS with everybody and kind of get closer to new people and make connections. I mean, I'm just more into that overall.
Excellent.
The social aspect.
Yeah.
There is a nice social aspect to this fraternity.
Yeah. And I was kind of brainstorming ideas if you guys were trying to figure out how to appeal to some younger people. I definitely think before or after certain events or nights, you could even have each lodge has a little dart tournament or something that's like in-house, and you keep stats online somewhere. And every month you say the top 5 people are the people, and make it more of a competitive, I might say afterwards, because there's some kind of tournament or some kind of weekly thing to do than just, showing up. So
cornhole competition.
I was thinking that first. Yeah.
There you go. I actually saw a virtual cornhole tournament on the internet. No, this is not a virtual aspect.
Invite me and I'll come and play cornhole with you.
Very good. But I think what transpired is what needs to happen, and what you, Ryan, need to do, which is once you're in and you're coming to meetings and so on, look for like-minded folks and just you take that lead and say, let's go do this. And, our current master, he's serving a second year just because of COVID. But prior to his beginning his first go around, he had a cookout over at his house, and he asked me to provide him with a list of every member of the lodge who was 50 or younger, and they had a cookout. And basically, he did what just happened, which was, what is it you want this lodge to be for you? And so don't be afraid to do things like that. We started out in March when things shut down, having a nightly Zoom call for just a few minutes each night, just to check in. We called it our nightly toast to absent brethren, which is actually a Masonic tradition. That title is significant. And so every night We would open the Zoom room at 8:45. At 9 o'clock, the master would lead in a toast to absent brethren. Anybody else that wanted to offer a toast would do that. We'd be on the call for, in some cases, 15 minutes, in some cases, a half hour. But what we found was that there was a great camaraderie that developed, and people who, a lot of folks would get on that hadn't been to meetings in forever. We had officers and so on, obviously, that were supporting the activity, but we did that for like 92 straight nights up until June. And now we're doing it once a month. The guys liked it so much, we've kind of turned it over to them, and they're still doing it once a month, just getting together to have a toast to absent brethren, even though we're back to meeting now. So it's those kinds of things and those kinds of conversations that I think we need to encourage our folks to have.
I agree.
What I see today, at least around here, is they're coming into the lodge and they're getting the degrees and they're being around a while. Then they're going to the shrine because that's where they want to go. And that's the problem I see right now.
The lodge meeting should not feel like a funeral.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah,
it should feel like a place where you want to be. You want to hang out with the guys. You want to. Okay, granted, you take care of some business, whatever, but you want to hang out with the guys. It should not feel like a funeral.
Yeah, another piece of this is, and Jack, you can speak more fully to this, is that in a lot of lodges sit empty for most of the month, and I hope I'm not stepping out of line, but encouraging you to use your building as a gathering place other than just for a lodge meeting. Jack's lodge at Ephrata Lodge number 665. If I lived closer, I would go to that lodge. Jack,
we would have you, Tim.
Tell them about your building other than housing our studio.
Well, right now they're just storing our equipment, but
exactly.
Usually, in the old days, we used to go there, and we actually we were remodeling the basement, and the studio that we were recording in the podcast was Pete's basement, and it was very much Pete's basement, and it was a great space, and we had a lot of fun, but we eventually kind of outgrew it, and we asked Ephrata Lodge if we could just carve off a little piece of the basement and put up a recording studio. So right now we have a recording studio in the basement of the lodge. That's one of the things that we do. Couple of the other things we do is encourage appendant bodies to use the facility. We have an AMD council that meets there. There's some other stuff that happens on a fairly regular basis, but it's supposed to be that beehive of activity, right? Bob, if you've got any say so, would love to repeal prohibition someday. That'd be a lovely thing. I think that would help a lot, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
So first of all, for the record, and I know I'm going to have a hard time getting past this. My father was Bob. I'm Rob.
Oh, you're Rob? Okay, sorry.
And it's all just a family thing because in the house it was easier to, Dad was Bob and I was Rob.
Sure.
So I'm Rob, and I feel pretty strongly about the whole repealing prohibition thing. Okay, so let's see how that goes.
Let's just leave that right there.
Over the next few years.
Yeah, let's put that on the table for now.
That's fine. All right.
But it's that's a part of it. I mean, it shouldn't be a focus, but there's lots of stuff that you can do inside your lodge. But what I wanted to tell Ryan was one of the things that you're going to be told in the third degree, and I'm not giving anything away, but you're going to be told this is now your lodge. And you are every bit as much a member of that lodge as anybody who's been there for 50 years.
That's right.
So if you have ideas that you think are for the benefit of Freemasonry or your lodge or you, execute them. Be the change. Do the thing that you think needs to be done. And that's how the fraternity gets better. But don't be afraid.
Jeff, I'll do this one for you. Ryan, thank you for volunteering for that committee.
Nicely done.
I'm not sure which one yet, but yeah.
As far back as the mid-1800s, records exist describing the pre-meeting tradition of brethren smoking cigars during and after gatherings.
To this day, the practice of smoking cigars remains very much alive in many lodges. This custom is considered a time for brethren to relax, exchange ideas, and enjoy the simplicity and fellowship that is the very essence of our brotherhood. This is what Hiram Solomon Cigars is all about. Our starting principles are to bring Masonic brethren together in the harmony of a good cigar. Pull up a chair, sit back, light up any of our premium cigars, and enjoy the history. Hiram Solomon Cigars can be found at fine cigar retailers. For a complete list, visit hiramandSolomonCigars.com or check them out on social media to find out when they'll be at a live event near you. Hiram Solomon Cigars is pleased to be the official cigar of the Masonic Lite podcast.
Hey, and we're back, everybody. So I'm imagining that Josh probably did some creative editing with that because it was a good interview. It was fun. But like all Masonic conversations, after about 20, 30 minutes, it starts to degenerate into that same Masonic conversation held around the world. And that
you may have heard this before.
And that we've actually had too many times here where we're bitching about what's wrong and how to fix it. So we're going to spare you that and hopefully clip most of that out.
I will say, though, a different spin on it is that the conversation is changing a little bit from what isn't happening to what is happening. So it was what's not happening and then what needs to happen. And now we're talking about what is happening. So that's a good thing, I think.
And also what the future might hold. I mean, if you listen closely to the episode, the future is bright. We've got some young folks.
That's all we'll say.
And that's all we're going to say.
That's all we'll say.
The future is bright.
Got to wear shades.
Yes.
Alrighty, so let's take another quick break, and we'll come back with the news and what we were going to be up to, and any segments we have. I don't know, whatever. We'll be back.
Hello, brethren. Dutchy Doug is back with an update from my lodge, the Broken Plow, number 377. We are now in the month of February, and for us Pennsylvania Dutch, that means two things: Fastnachts and Groundhog Day. Due to COVID, the Broken Plow was virtual again this month. Not too much to report, so I thought I would share a story that happened last February, back in the days before we all had to wear masks and before we constantly smelled like hand sanitizer. Now, earlier I mentioned Groundhog Day. Yep, that one day of the year when even non-Pennsylvania Dutch people tune in to see one of our oldest traditions, getting a weather forecast from a large rodent's shadow. Now, if you happen to be one of the few people in the United States who doesn't know what Groundhog Day is, allow me to tell you all about it. The tradition of gaining weather predictions from animals actually dates as far back as pre-Christian Europe. In the Rhine River Valley of modern-day Germany, the 2nd of February, or Candlemas Day, was always the day that an animal was used to predict the length of the winter. Traditionally, the animal that they used was the badger, since badgers tended to come out of their dens around that time of the year. But as Pennsylvania Dutch immigrants came to America, we brought this tradition with us. Since there were no badgers in Pennsylvania, we adopted a new animal as our prognosticator, the groundhog. As tradition states, when the groundhog emerges from his den on the 2nd of February, he will be able to forecast the weather. If he sees his shadow, he will get scared and run back into his den, signaling 6 more weeks of winter. If he doesn't see his shadow, he'll remain out of his den, signaling an early spring. Everyone is familiar with Punxsutawney Phil, the world's most famous groundhog. Yes, he is famous, but he isn't the only game in town. All over southeastern Pennsylvania, there are other groundhogs that forecast the weather too. There's Oscar in Kutztown, Uni in Myerstown, Jakey in Jonestown, and most importantly, there is Nye Steckersville Nick. That is our beloved local groundhog. Every February 2nd, our valley turns out to hear old Nick's forecast. It's normally a big to-do. Many members of our lodge are in the local groundhog club, which means that they are the keepers of Nick and his secrets. Normally on Groundhog Day, we all turn out in the inner circle dressed in top hats and tails. We'll bring old Nick out and announce the forecast. Last year was like any other year, except for the big mistake. Earlier that morning, the inner circle had assembled and was all excited to celebrate the big day. Every year, a member of the inner circle gives Nick a small blue pill that'll calm him down. This ensures that the brother who's holding him will have no issues. As the brethren prepared to parade Nick out, old brother Philby Farablin made a small mistake. As he was giving Nick his blue calming pill, he accidentally slipped Nick a different small blue pill. That would end up being a costly mistake. Nick swallowed the pill and the brethren started out to the stage. The crowd was amped up and started cheering. As the moment of truth arrived, Brother Harry Haber held Nick up, and just about that time, the blue pill kicked in. By now, I'm sure that you all know what kind of a pill I'm talking about. Yep, Brother Philby accidentally gave Nick a Viagra. What we later found out was that the dose was the equivalent of 5 human doses for a groundhog. Quickly, Nick started squirming in Brother Harry's hands. The handler was about to become the handled. Nick jumped out of Harry's arms and went right for his leg. If you are the owner of a male dog, you know exactly what happened next. Harry's leg became Nick's new best friend with benefits. The crowd erupted in laughter. There was so much commotion that the brethren never announced the forecast. Nick went from Harry's leg to Brother Bill Bayman, who was standing next to Brother Harry. By the end of the event, Nick had had his way with over 13 legs that day. Throughout the whole ordeal, the crowd kept chanting Nick on and were truly impressed at his stamina. He finally calmed down and crawled back into his den. The brethren all took a sigh of relief and turned to the crowd and announced 6 more weeks of winter. The inner circle later made it very clear that Brother Philby was no longer allowed to give out the medicine. Till next time, work hard, stay plumb, and out in the lights when you leave the room. To learn more about the Pennsylvania Dutch language, culture, and history, please visit my website, padutch101.com, or my YouTube channel. Just search Doug Maidenford.
In Masonic news today, as lodges across the country begin to open for meetings, a sharp rise in the cost of dry cleaning has been detected. What had been a $16 tuxedo service is now as much as $26 in some areas, prompting cries of,
"But I'm on a fixed budget,"
to resound around the jurisdiction. In other news, a shortage of tailors has also been noticed, as nearly every tuxedo in the crowd needs to be let out a few inches. That's the Masonic news. So mote it was.
Very truthful news there, Brother Walter. Very truthful news.
Yeah, I'm afraid to try mine on.
I'm not even sure. I'm pretty sure my tuxedo is behind a door on the floor where I left it 18 months ago.
With mice living in it, and yeah.
Yeah, the long-haired white cats nesting on it. It's fun.
Ooh.
All right, so we have a bunch of stuff coming up. I know Jack and I this weekend are actually starting tonight, which I kind of forgot about. It went kind of late. Our friend Victor, who is in the Grand Line for the Grottos of North America, is in town. He is in...
Is he?
Yeah, he's over at Mount Joy at Mix, but he might already be gone. But I'll see if he's still there. I kind of lost track of time. But he's here, and the whole Grand Line of the Grottos of North America will be here this weekend for the bringing up. What do you call it? A consecration?
Constitution.
Constitution.
I think.
Of the brand new grotto called Beersheba Grotto. And it should be fun. It should be a good party and a good time.
And if you're a Mason anywhere near Honeybrook, Pennsylvania, Beersheba Grotto it's a fun time. It's going to be loose like Ubar, started by a bunch of guys who are Ubarbarians. So it's a place to just kick back, put your feet up, have a beverage, do a little Masonic-ish stuff, and have a good time. We're going to meet at the Waynebrook Inn, which is right on the corner of Route 10 and 322. So it's real easy to find. And any Master Masons in the area, we'd welcome you if you happen to show up.
Yeah, it's a good trend. So they will have 3 grottos in 3 counties in a row. So Pennsylvania is always kind of like not so big in grotto, but maybe we're coming back.
And get in your time machine, because the constitution of the grotto was last night. If you're listening to this on the day the show was released.
Oh, I just
say don't show up.
General. Yeah, just watch for announcements. I don't even know when we meet. I think it's like the second Sunday or whatever.
I love it when you do
more
that.
to come.
Timmy, what's going on?
So this weekend, I am going to be conducting a virtual training with the treasurers from the 15th Masonic District, where Brother Bob DePalma is the district deputy. We did a secretary's training a few weeks ago, and there were a few glitches with the folks doing the treasurer's part. So I'm going to lead that. And then first of the month, we're going to Eureka West Shore Lodge number 302 has our stated meeting on the 1st. We will confer 2 fellow craft masons on the 3rd. And then the first official, I guess, back face-to-face cigar lodge meeting is tentatively scheduled for Sunday, March 14th. That's going to be up in Drums, Pennsylvania, assuming they can get the room. That's going to be, it's right off of 81 and 78 that goes across there? Or is it 80?
I've never even heard of Drums, Pennsylvania.
Oh, it's worth the drive. Believe me, it's worth the drive. It's a great place. But check out Cigar Lodge 1 on Facebook. You can find out when that gets confirmed, but that's a tentative date that they were trying to lock in. And that's about it for right now.
Say it,
Jack.
Josh.
Did you have anything else, or
Nah,
no?
Just being grumpy.
Josh?
I think the day after this comes out, we'll have Lamberton's Zoom meeting. But yeah, other than that,
any word on D1 yet?
Not yet.
Good to know.
And Larry, tell us what you're up to, and if not, just let's do the news. Or let's do not the news.
No, I'll tell you, other than the fact that Goose and Gridiron is back, that's about it.
Well, Larry, let's get out of here. It's been a long
Chew
night.
those chickens.
Chew the chickens.
Well, you want to leave? Okay, hey.
Yeah, chickens.
Special thanks to Effort Lodge 665 for making our broadcast studio possible and available. And we really do hope to be back there in due time, shortly. We're chomping at the bit to come back to Effort. I miss the place. And we have a new restaurant owned by a brother that I have to try. I must have to try. We'll have to try. But anyway, thanks, Effort Lodge, for bearing all these things and doing the great job you've done. Thanks to our Josh Lamberton, our producer and director, who always makes the show really great. Thanks to Jack Harley, our news director, and Tim Dedman, our marketing director. To our Masonic Lite contributors, Masonic Lite podcast contributors, Michelle Snyder and Doug Maddenford. A couple things I want to pass along before I leave.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Hey, there's a new Masonic clothing designer in town. Hugh Jass. Hugh, H-U-G-H. Jass, J-A-S-S. Hugh Jass.
Nice.
And we do have now officially or unofficially Masonic Lite Podcast Apathy Study Group. It's headed up by Don Pat. I'd say. Our compassion coordinator, Ophelia Payne. She feels my pain right now. Oh, God. I'll tell you, trying to come up with these things is just terrible every time.
I like to feel your pain.
I like to feel your pain. All right, well, this is Larry Maris. Thanks for listening.
This is Tim. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Good night.
I know more than you do.